Hi, I'm Euge Valovirta and I'm just in the middle of building my new live rig that is based on BluGuitar's AMP1 Iridium and Neunaber's Iconoclast speaker emulator. No intros, nothing, just gonna show you this because many of you have asked about my live rig, and I did a video of the previous, or actually still current live rig, because it's in Gothenburg, Sweden, what I used with Syra, which is based on a Freeman BOD pedal and the Neunaber Iconoclast. But since this AMP1 is so good, I did a video about the amp where I compared it to my 800. I put a link in there. Check it out, and in the description. Check it out if you're more interested about this amp. But now I actually got an endorsement from Thomas Bluk. Thank you. Really glad. This is fantastic. And I'm also endorsed by Neunaber, but nevertheless I will buy this stuff anyway. So first let's do a quick comparison between my JSM 2203 Bad Boy and with the AMP1, both boosted with SD1. So both amps, the AMP1 and 800, are connected to this KG Audio's amp switcher, so I can switch between them, and then they both go to serve a reactive load where I have my signature impulse response Valovirtuos from Jens Bogren. Okay, so sounds like this. So they both sound really close. So this one, what I'm having now, is the AMP1 classic channel. The settings are, you can see, so basic sound SD on. Okay, then A4. So, they're really close, but this is not the point. The point is that this is really good amplifier. It's as good as the 800. Okay, so now you can see the board. There's the Iconoclast. So why that? Why don't I use a reactive load and that connected to a mixer and to PA or a mic'd cabinet? Well, we travel a lot. I travel a lot. I do other shows than Syra, and I want to have a rig, my sound, that is completely on the pedalboard, so that I don't have to rely on any cabinets, you know, reactive loads, whatever. I can have my sound wherever I go, the feel, and that's it. So let me switch to another channel here. So you can see the levels are a bit different. This is now recording the Neunaber, so I'm gonna connect the Neunaber from this line out. This has an impulse response, which was okay, but I bypass it. You can bypass that, so I can have my own, you know, whatever impulse response I want, because this isn't an impulse loader. So this just, you can have any cabinet, reactance, whatever, with the Iconoclast. So you can tweak it in real time. So basically you have, in a way, all the impulse responses in the world. How genius is that? Okay, then I need to turn this to 4, because that's the setting that this works the best. And now, as you probably know, really big part of tube amplifiers, why they feel, why they sound like they do, why you can get really close with plugins, modeling software, all these digital things, but there's a reason why it's never the same. It's because of the interaction, the reactance, the negative feedback. Because this is a 100 watt real tube amp, so it sends a lot of power either to a reactive load or to a cabinet. The louder you crank it, then there's power that's coming back, which feeds back, and that negative feedback reactance creates the big 3D sound and feel that we all love about real tube amps, like the AMP1. So that's why the loads, because they are like standard loads, and then there's reactive loads, and this reactive loads is really great because it really feels like I will play with a real cabinet. So now what you're hearing, let me turn this like this, I will explain soon why. Now what you're hearing is the AMP1 into Neunaber, and then I'm recording this, and I would use this same line, so it would go to the PA and stuff. But it's connected to the reactive load, just for the negative feedback thing. But the sound isn't coming from the reactive load or from the cabinet, it just makes the amp behave a certain way. So it sounds like this. I mean, it's great. So that's the Neunaber. Check out what happened when I disengage the cabinet. So now there isn't real reactance, negative feedback between the amp and the cab or reactive load. That's not very good, but the reason why I said that both these guys are genius. Brian Neunaber, this mid knob, it's not a mid knob like on your amplifier. Check it out. So, like it says on the cover, it emulates the speaker. It also emulates the negative feedback, the reactiveness by this mid knob. So if I would use a cabinet live and also this, I would just turn the mids full, so then kind of disengages that feeder, and then it reacts with the reactive load or cabinet, the amp. But if I will play directly in line, because in Syra we do that and we use in-ears, I'll just tweak this knob. It's not obviously exactly the same, because it's an emulation, but it's really good one. I mean, it feels really like the power compression. Then it goes like this, and that's programmable also. I could make it faster, so like, when you play with the plexi, when you crank it, it kind of goes like this. You can make this behave the same with any amp cabinet. So, and the settings, you can program this, that it's the basic settings are like this, switch wheel between clean and overdriven channels. This is boost, this is reverb, but you can also program this. So the way I programmed this, the basic is the classic channel. And you know, I can get a rock sound. Or my basic, you know, heavy sound with SD. And then the clean channel, I programmed that this knob goes to the clean channel. So, and I've also programmed that it adds a little bit reverb. And I have the gate on modern, but always when the reverb is engaged, it turns the gate into soft. So it works great for cleans. In Zyra I basically have one sound, but there's a couple of songs like Closer. Where I could use this, and Phase 90 is great because it brings a little bit overdrive. So that's for Closer. And the lead sound, well, I've never really had a lead sound, but I just programmed this because this is now the modern channel, which is a little bit different, but there's a tone knob here. I've turned it all the way down, and on the basic channel all the way up, so they're actually quite close to each other. The reason why I have this lead channel, it's just a tad louder. Listen. So it's mainly for my in-ears, because our front of house guy makes the, you know, solo volume lifts and stuff. But if I'm feeling that, you know, I need a little bit more, and I can just and with the tone down on this one and this one up, they're actually really close, and it's a little bit like more mids, so this works really well for solos. So, but you know, I will probably use both, whatever I feel. Why the SD? Why not use the boost this has? Well, because I have 3 basic sounds, and I want to be able to turn on the boost to all channels, to lead, and the boost that this has built in, it's kind of like 808. My favorite is SD1. This is the Waza version, but it's on the standard now because the original on the other board. I love SD1, so that's why that. And this is just, as you can see, this is just a mock-up. It's just some plywood I found, but it's going to be pretty much like this. I mean, the cables will go under the board. I probably have something to lift this up, and I probably will have a chorus and a tuner on that too, like here somewhere. But basically, this will be my live rig. The advantages is I can play directly in line, have the feel, the reactance, the negative feedback, feel the 3D feel with the Iconoclast, because like I said, it emulates speaker, the sound, but also the behavior. How amplifier and speaker, you know, talks with each other. Or then I can still have the sound going out to mixer, to PA from this, but use the cabinet maybe to monitor, have some oomph on the stage, or reactive load, or whatever. Or I can just play with a cabinet and mic that like old school, all with a reactive load. Or I can actually play with all, because the way I've said this, so I can actually turn all these on. Let me actually do that. So now the cabinet is connected too. So it's coming from there. I you know, so now basically the signal is coming from the cabinet, and it's going from the reactive load to the Cubase, and it's also going from this to the Cubase. Really awesome. So this will be my live rig in the future. And as you can hear it, it sounds great. But I mean, the Friedman BOD, it sounded great. I played that 4 years, did hundreds of shows with that old setup, which I showed you on the video. But it's a pedal. This is an actual tube amp, 100-watt tube amp. It sounds obviously better. It feels better, and now I can go to jams wherever with this one, you know, borrow a cabinet from someone or whatever. There's all I need is here. And it's because I haven't played with this bad boy live in years, because this is pretty precious and this has been maintained and broken so many times, and I always felt that, man, it would be so, whenever I come to home studio and play with this, it's just like, oh man, I wish that I could have that sound and feel live. Now I do. Awesome, just awesome. And yeah, there's controls on the side where you can also dial the individual volumes, like I did, so the lead channel is a little bit louder and basic and stuff. So yeah, but that was it. And now stay with me for a while. I will show you what I did with the Iconoclast software. So if you have that, you can do that too, because it is a bit, if you're not familiar with, you know, audio and stuff, EQs, compression, whatever, it can be a bit overwhelming. But let me show you a few simple tricks and you can, yeah, alright. Okay, so here we are on the screen, and here's the software. And when you turn these knobs, you can see how the curve changes. So it's not just like your guitar amp's EQ, like a volume for a certain frequency. It changes the whole curve. Okay, so let me put those, because I marked these where I have them. So what we have here, let's start from the low. You can choose what this knob adjusts. But if you adjust like this, then it's a certain way, then the whole thing. So you can have to pick one. I would choose that it adjusts frequency and gain on the low end. And I set the low shelf, so it's kind of like, you know, how much there is low shelf, kind of like resonance control on the tube amp's power amp. So what it was, 230, like that. And then the slope, you can, you know, how much it boosts or whatever. So if it's 3 beats like that, I have it maxed, so it sounds, you know, big and powerful. So that's that. Mid speaker resonance, I put it 75 because that's what most speakers are, at least my favorite, you know, V30s, greenbacks, the frequency resonance is 75. And then with this Q knob, it's a, well, like it says, sharpness of loudspeaker resonance. So what it does when you change it, it changes the curve a little bit different. So like I said, this isn't an IR loader, this is basically all the IRs in the world, or cabinets or whatever sounds. And the speaker inductance, frequency at which impedance curve starts to rise. So when I move it, you see it changes the curve a little bit. Where did I have it? 1270, yeah. And this is the rise, how much it rises. Okay, that was 3.4. And the highs, there's different filters, like the low pass filter, which is also called high cut, same thing. So you can have it here, type A, it adds this kind of thing in there at some speakers, have. This is this one, and this is this one. I liked this one the most. Fits is bypassed, so it adds. In a recording situation, I would use probably this, because you kind of want to have that. I mean, the BluGuitar IRs, they all have a little bit of that, because it gives a presence. But if you have this kind of fits in there and it goes, the sound comes out from 130 decibels from PA, people will be like, oh, or then the sound guy probably will do a high cut or low pass filter in there. So that's why I don't have it, because I use this live. Okay. Then dynamics. This is where this shines. So this is what the kind of the mid knob controls. If this is not able, it's kind of like you will play into a load, not to a reactive load. And with this one, you can adjust the thump, like what it does. So I found it that the really fast response, so it kind of goes like a little bit, like a speaker cap do when you really crank the master and push it. It kind of, goes like squats a little bit. So with this you can do that. But this is, I just, eyes closed and played, and what felt the most real. Let's actually recall the settings, what I had, so you can, if you want to save this Syro Live, I did this yesterday, or 12, whatever day is as you're watching this. Oh yeah, it was minus 2.2. And the EQ I have bypassed. I tried it, you can do cuts and stuff. I didn't find the need, because the simpler the better. If it's absolutely, if something isn't absolutely necessary, then I try not to use it. So my suggestion is don't use it, don't use stuff just because you're able, but if you really feel the need. And then there's noise gate. I have it off. You can set it here, how it affects. Why I have it off? Well, because this is the last thing. If this would be on, this would also gate my delay tails. And the AMP1 has fantastic gate. But let's say if you're recording with this or stuff, and maybe you don't have delay, or maybe you have it after this, which actually you can do, then this gate would be. This is actually a really good gate, because it's really tweakable, but I have it 0. And then the output, this is also one thing that shines. As you can see, stereo enhancer enabled. Level frequency around 1000 Hz. Why? I play with in-ears, with Syro, and since it's -7, it's hardly there. What it basically does is, if you see my videos, what I usually have when I do the videos, I show you that I have a little bit of room reverb. The guitars go to stereo bus channel, and there's a room reverb, and it's barely open. It just widens the sound a little bit. This does exactly the same. So it's enabled, and it's -7 dB, and the frequencies, that was just frequency that I like. So this does that. It doesn't sound like it's two guitars or stereo or whatever, it's mono signal, but it still feels a little bit wider. Kind of like when you play with 4x12, as you know, the sound is wide. That's that. Fantastic devices from Thomas Blug and from Brian Neunaber. More in-depth information, please visit Thomas Blug's site. He's done fantastic videos, I watched them all. Because there's so many features on the AMP1 that you can do, half power mode, power, whatever. But check out those if you're interested. There's no need for me to do that, because Thomas knows his stuff better. And Brian has done, there's great videos about the Iconoclast on Brian's site and information too. So check those out. Hey, hopefully this was interesting and informative, and maybe you get some ideas for your own live rig. If you're interested to have the sound and feel of a real 100 watt tube amp, now you can have it, because the AMP1 BluGuitar AMP1 is a real 100 watt tuba. It uses the nanotube technology, that's why it's so small. And if you want to play that, have the same, almost the same feel, basically the similar sound, same sound than what you would get with a cabinet, but that's quite hard to travel with, you know. It's this. Alright, thanks for watching, all the best, take care, bye.